Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Happy Masterclass Friday. My favorite day of the week for work. Let's put it that way. Welcome and thanks for those of you who are joining me live today. I see a bunch of people in the chat already, so I'll do a few shout outs. I see Mike, I see Steve, I see Michael, Sean, Mallory, let's see, and Carolyn, welcome. Some usual suspects. I think Victoria's up there as well. So great to see you all here, and great to see you continuing to watch the master classes on Friday. And speaking of which, my name is Terry White, Worldwide Design and Photography Evangelist for Adobe. We have several evangelists that stream their master classes on Friday. So I kick things off with photography. Then Paul Tran, after we do a Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge, Paul Tranny comes up and does graphic design in Photoshop. And then we have, I think, Jason Levine's after him, and then Howard Pinsky. Jason Levine does audio and video. Howard Pinsky does UI UX design with Adobe XD. And then we have also Kyle Webster kicking off his masterclass. I think he's getting it going, or has already got it started, for drawing along with Kyle Webster. So he has a masterclass about all things drawing. So with that said, we've got a action-packed day of evangelists streaming their masterclasses and showing you all their various disciplines, starting with photography today. And today is actually a kind of a repeat of a topic that I did on Adobe Live that was extremely popular the day I did it. It was basically, how would I edit your photos? And when I say your photos, these were photos that people submitted via a link I gave you earlier in the week. So we had a bunch of people submit their photos. We're going to take a look at those. None of these are mine, so these are all user-submitted photos. and I'm just going to show you, based on the photo you submitted, what I would do to it. Now, of course, everyone has their style, and when it comes to editing and retouching, it's really subjective and it's really a personal choice. So in many ways, you can probably take some of the tips I give you and use them. And in other ways, you might say, I'll take that with a grain of salt because I wouldn't do it that way, or I wouldn't do that, or I would do something else, or I would do more to it. So I'm just giving you my take on your photos and what I would do to them. And if I can get it done in Lightroom, I'll do it in Lightroom. If it requires a little more work, I'll go to Photoshop. Also, I might even dabble over on my iPad. My iPad is sitting there with the same photos. So if it's something I can do on the iPad or on mobile, I'll do it there as well. So I see a bunch of people also just joined. Crystal, welcome. Katrina, welcome. JR, welcome. Michael, welcome. Cal and Asant, if I'm saying that correctly, welcome as well. And I see some folks watching on other platforms. I see people watching on Facebook. I see people watching over on YouTube. I see people watching over to my right on Twitter. If you're watching on another platform, that's cool. You can hang out there. But if you want me to see your questions, if you want me to see you in the chat, then head over to b.net/Adobe Live. That's where I'll be paying attention to the actual chat for this stream. So I can't work and look at all the various chat windows. So this is the best way to participate. If you want to ask questions or if you want to chime in, you can do that over on b.net/Adobe Live. All right, so, and if not, just hang out. And also for people watching the replay, thanks for watching the replay. And again, be on the lookout for these kind of topics where I ask for your submissions, whether it's a portfolio review or photo editing. Just follow me on my various channels and you'll see me post a link to submit your content, usually several days in advance so I can get them all. Now, I saw someone in the chat earlier saying, hey, how do I upload my photo? It's too late. The deadline was yesterday, around close of business yesterday, my time. So, I wouldn't have time to look at new photos right now while I'm actually editing. So you typically have a day before the stream to get them all in, and of course days before if you get the notice up front. All right, cheers everybody, and again, thanks for being here, and let's go ahead and get started looking at some of the submissions. Last time I did this, I kind of went in the order of the submissions. This time I'm just going to go randomly because I don't remember the order of submissions. I did I was more diligent about that last time, but this time I'm just going to kind of go as I see fit. All right, so let's pop over to my desktop. Let's take a look at what we have today. And one more thing. So I'm not really here to critique the photography of it. Like, so there are some photos that are clearly done by professionals, and there's some photos that are clearly done by, I would think they're amateurs. I could be wrong. And then I might give you a tip or two about the composition of the photo, but your subject's your subject, the photo's your photo, the quality's your quality. It's basically, it's up to you. So I'm not here to do a photography critique. I'm just showing you how I would edit. All right, so let's pop over to my desktop. I've got the images loaded here. And again, and by the way, just one more thing. I do have some photos left over from last time. I may randomly go down and choose some of these older photos that I didn't get to the first time. But I'm going to go ahead and start with a couple of the photos that were submitted this week. There's a portrait here, and these are the same person. So some people submit 2, 3, 4 photos, and I won't be able to do all the photos that you submit every time. So I'm not going to do both of these. I will talk about, like for example, this one. This is a selfie, and it was taken 3 years ago. We know that because it's still on the photo. So selfie looks good. There's not a lot I would do to it other than crop off the white border and the 3 years ago. But the photo that was submitted by the same person, this is the one that I'm actually going to edit today. This one, there's an interesting thing about this photo that I run into a lot with user submissions. And it's basically the sharpness of the photo or lack thereof. So in this case, when I look at this photo, one of the first things that distracts me is that it's just a slightly out of focus. And it's not that the background's out of focus, which you would tend to want to do. It's the subject is slightly, just a little blurry, just a little out of focus. So I decided to do something that I haven't run in a while, a action in Photoshop, or not action, but a filter in Photoshop that I haven't run in a while, just to see if it would make a difference. So in this case, I am going to go, well, here, let's do this. Let's go into the develop module first. So I'm in Lightroom Classic. I'm in the develop module. Let's do my Lightroom things that I would do anyway. And then we'll head over to Photoshop. So keeping in mind, in the back of my head, the first thing is that it's out of focus. But before we even get to that, let's go ahead and just do a quick auto tone on this. And that'll kind of bring the color back to where it should be. Also, there's a little darkness in the shadows around her face, where her hair is around her face. It's okay, but I can just go ahead and pull the histogram over to kind of brighten up the shadows a little bit. It didn't completely get rid of it, but it did make it better. And then there's a little bit of a white line at the very top of this, so I would go ahead and just crop it down just a hair. All right, maybe something like that. And now let's go deal with the bigger issue, which is slightly out of focus. So I'm going to right-click on this photo. I would normally do a keyboard shortcut, but I just show people where it is. Right-click, edit in Photoshop. That will ask me, because this is a JPEG, do I want to edit the original, which is edit the original JPEG, not with any of the things I just did to it in Lightroom, or do I want to edit a copy of it with the Lightroom adjustments? And in this case, I'm going to choose a copy because I did those Lightroom adjustments. I want them to be maintained when I head over to Photoshop. Hey, Whitney, I see you over there on Facebook, even though I'm not supposed to be looking at that chat. All right, so let's pop over here. And again, the thing that is distracting me the most is that it's slightly out of focus. So what would I do in a case like that? I would hope that I would have another photo, because typically out of focus there's not a ton you can do with it. But there is one thing I can try, because I can tell by the way her arm is extended, she's taking a selfie. And typically when it's out of focus like that, it means that you're holding your hand up in an awkward position because you're not used to holding your hand up like this. And your hand moved ever so slightly, which is camera shake. Now, there's two reasons why a photo would be out of focus. It's the camera shook, which is what I believe is what happened here, or the subject moved. If it's the first one, you have a chance. If it's the second one, you don't have a chance. So if the subject moved, you're just out of luck. You're going to need another photo. But if the hand or the camera moved, you might have a shot at it. So let's go to the filter menu. Let's come down to sharpen. And there is something that's been in Photoshop since 2013 called camera or shake reduction. And what shake reduction, here, it brought it up in a separate monitor. Let's bring it over here. And let's make it the right size. All right, what shake reduction does is it looks for camera shake. It looks for that movement, and it looks to improve it. So, and by the way, this is not a super high resolution photo, so you're going to take the results with a grain of salt as well. But if I turn off the preview, you can really see the difference it's making. So this is before, and this is after, just sharpening and trying to reduce that camera shake. Now, you can also it did a great job of sampling where it thinks the issue is. I can also adjust maybe the smoothing, and let's see if I adjust that, bring it down a little bit, or bring it up a little bit actually. Too much, back off. It kind of was good where it was. I just don't want it to be over sharpened, but let's go ahead and do that. All right. So now we'll click OK, and that is the before and the after. And like I said, when you see the after, you can really see how much out of focus it was. All right. So again, I think it's a little, in my opinion, just a little too sharp. So what I might do is undo that. I might try something else. Let's duplicate that layer. Let's convert that to a smart filter layer. Let's see if this will work. Convert for smart filter, so basically make it a smart object. And then let's go ahead and apply that shake reduction. So I'm just going to apply, just repeat it, just apply the same one over again. And it does it, and I click OK. And now what I could do is I can control it with opacity. So I want to just bring it down a little bit. So just show me a little bit of that photo underneath. So I'm bringing the opacity of that down by about, I brought it down quite a bit. Looks like, what, 67? Yeah, but that looks better. Because before, because of the low res, it was just a little too sharp, but that's about where I want to be. Okay, so now, and again, I could turn that off. I could turn it on. You could see what it's doing. And again, just bringing that photo back into focus. Now, at this point, what I want to do is I want to start working with the other thing that's distracting me in this photo, and it's just a personal thing. She's got great hair on both sides, but that little poof up here is driving me crazy. So I can either do one of two things. I can double click and go into the smart object to start removing that, because I do need to remove pixels. Or I can create a composite mask of the whole thing and work on that one, so I would always have these layers to go back to in case I mess up. All right, so let's do that. Let's do a Command Shift E, Command Alt Shift E, or I'm sorry, Command Option Shift E on Mac. PC Control Alt Shift E will make a composite layer of all that you just did. So this layer is my layer to play with. I still have the layers underneath that are my originals, and now I could go ahead and retouch on this layer and still have the original to get back to. Okay, so next thing, William says, yes, I have to use camera shake reduction sometimes due to my body always in motion, and I always forget to take the time to turn off the auto sensor clean feature. Okay, so that's a testimonial for shake reduction. I don't use it often because I try and just like steady the camera, but when you need it, it's good to have it. All right, so now the difficulty in just simply patching this little piece of hair out is that it's also against this file cabinet, and that file cabinet has a very distinct line in it, and so I need to preserve that line, otherwise you'll know I did it. So I could do a clone stamp, I could do a patch piece by piece, I could do several methods to try and remove that, but I think my clone stamp tool is going to serve me best. So I'm going to go ahead and just reduce the size of that clone stamp. And I'm going to, since I have this line to line up on, that makes my life actually a little easier. So I'm just going to go ahead and hold down my Option or Alt key and use that line as my target, like right about, I would say right about there, click. And then I get a preview so I can see my line as I move it over, and I just keep it lined up. And that's the challenge, is keeping it lined up. and don't drift. Okay, so once again, we just keep going. So we do it a little bit more. And a little bit more. And a little bit more until we just complete that line all the way across. All right, there. Keep it lined up. That's the challenge. I'm using my mouse. Normally I'd use my tablet for something like that. And my line's a little off, but that's okay. If I go all the way across, then it will be good because I'm creating a new line. All right. Okay, so now that I've separated that line, I got my line good. Now I can go ahead and work with other tools to kind of like patch this hair because my line is not going to be, the line in that drawer is not going to be the issue. So I'm just going to come over, and that's probably too big, but I'm going to come over here using my patch tool and just start patching this out. Now it's going to create probably a blur because I'm not using content aware, but that's okay. Once I get it all patched out, then I can go ahead and clean it up a little. All right, I'd say right about there. That's all I really need. So let's go ahead and switch that to content aware. All right, and then I can go ahead and finish cleaning that up, that little area there. Well, let's go ahead and go back to normal. All right, good, good, good. And we're just blending this all in with normal so that we don't see all these little different distinctions in color and tone. All right, and same thing up here. I got some issues. This was already here. I don't think this was hair, but let's just go ahead and patch that out because it's now a distraction. It just looks like the file cabinet's dirty now, like all these little spots on it. And we're just going to go ahead and patch these out. And of course, you take your time. I'm doing a stream where I only have a limited amount of time, but you would take your time and zoom in and really do a good job. I'm just showing you more of the technique as opposed to the diligence and time it would take to actually do a good job. All right, and again, I could clean this up some more. Like for example, I might take this whole edge and drag it to the cleaner edge like that. Again, keeping it lined up. And it looks like I was off just a little bit, but you know, you get the idea. You just do a better job. Okay, so now let's zoom out a little bit. And that distraction is now gone for me. Like that was just that little poof of hair was distracting me, and now it's gone. And again, if we go back to our before, this is our before, and this is our after. All right, now there are other probably little things that you might want to clean up on this image. Like I might see something in the glasses there I might want to clean up. But otherwise, I might want to take the highlight off or reduce the highlight on the forehead there. But just this is for a selfie. This is good. All right. What are you typing to make the patch active? I'm not typing anything. I'm just clicking right on the patch tool. So the patch tool is a tool. You could type the letter J, but I didn't type anything. I just clicked on it. All right. So now if I save that, even with all the layers, and I close it, and I come back to Lightroom, it'll put it right next to the original. That's why I made a copy. So I would also have the original. And it put it back, even though it started out as a JPEG, it put it back as a PSD with all the layers that I can always go back and finish editing. So again, if we go back and look at this, this was our before, out of focus, poof of hair, just distracting me. And again, the biggest problem with this is that it was out of focus, and this is our better one that's more sharp, more in focus, and that's kind of what I would do on a shot like that. Now, this is actually, of all the submissions this week, this is going to be, J and then Shift J, yeah, all right, this is going to be probably one of my favorites of the week. All right, what this one just screams current conditions. So we have a shopper wearing a mask, shopping for produce in a grocery store, and again, this just this would make a great stock photo. So because I'm sure people would buy a photo like this that would show the current conditions of today. Now, there's really nothing wrong with this photo, but there are some things that, again, I'm the distraction king. So what's distracting me in this photo is just all this I almost said a word, all this stuff on the floor. So it's just, and again, it's a concrete floor. It's got stains on it. It's a grocery store. But like that's what's really distracting me at this point. Everything else looks good. Now there's some tonal things I do, so let's go ahead and do those. So let's go back into develop module. And again, I always start with an auto tone. Oh, well, you know what? Let's see. Yeah, this is JPEG. So I always start with an auto tone. And I just brightened it up a little bit. I might increase the shadows a bit more because I just like to bring people out of the shadows. All right, and let's see, our highlights are blown out in the lights. That's fine. And because we got all that fruit, I might make it even a little bit more vibrant. Just bring up the vibrance slightly. And now, again, that's just making some quick tonal changes. What I would then go in and say is, okay, now this stuff down here is bothering me. Now, could I fix that in Lightroom? Yeah, but it would take a long time and it wouldn't be fun. So it's just easier to fix this stuff in Photoshop. So once again, I could right click, but this time I did a Command E or a PC Control E, and now it's just asking me, which was same thing. Do I want to work with a copy or not? And yes, I definitely want to work with a copy. So let's go ahead and edit that copy. It popped over into Photoshop. And now again, you could work with a new layer, but again, at this point, my original is still back in Lightroom, so I don't usually create a new layer because that's the whole purpose is I have the copy if I need to get back to it. But just for the people that like working on a different layer, there it is. There's a new layer. All right, so now let's go ahead and zoom in and let's just, yeah, this stuff just needs to go. So I am going to switch to my stylus. I do most of my retouching with a Wacom tablet. And for those of you who are just like want to see the process, there it is, my hands cam. So we're just going to do a nice patch. And again, I usually do normal to blend it in so it doesn't look so repeated. It doesn't look so hard-edged. And we're just kind of patching this cement at her feet, just cleaning up this grocery store. So I'm just doing nice big patches because I can. And there we go. And this big, whatever this looks like, just water. But this water stain or whatever that is, let's just go ahead and patch a lot of that stuff out. And just kind of clean, yeah, it is water because I can see it over here. And just kind of cleaning up the floor. So again, it's up to you. Like no one but me would probably notice that floor is like that. But once I see something like that, I can't unsee it. So we're just going to go ahead and kind of clean all this up and just make it just a little cleaner. By the way, we are in a grocery store. You kind of want your grocery store to be cleaned, right? All right, and then we got some little things over here on the wood. Just little things that I might take a few seconds to clean up some of these. Not all of them, but just some of them to be a little less distracting. That's just natural stuff that happens in wood. Some of it's not, like this. It's probably not natural. So let's just go ahead and clean up some of that. And let's see. We got more floor over here too. All right. Good, good, good. And that's the end. Okay. All right. And again, just some of these more obvious wear and tear on the wood down here. Just take some of those out. Not all of them, just some. I don't like the way this one ended up, so let's go ahead and clean that up a little bit. Oh, I was off. Undo. There we go. All right, let's zoom out. There we go. Much, much better just not having that distraction on the floor. And then, then I got some distractions up here on the ceiling too. Once you see those distractions, it's kind of hard not to see them again. There we go. All right. This little flap is bothering me. Let's see if I can I probably can't easily get rid of that, but let's see. Oh, there we go. Oh, well, hang on, almost. Almost. If I could steady my hand. I just can't steady my hand in that spot. I always let go too soon. Hang on. There you go. Okay. All right. That's what I would do to this photo. Everything else looks pretty good. I would probably go ahead and sharpen it too. So let's go ahead and save this. Close it. Where do I do my sharpening? I tend to do my sharpening right in Photo or right in Lightroom. So I can sharpen it after the fact or before the fact, but here's my new one. I go into my develop module, and then I would go ahead and just add a little sharpening to this. So let's go to detail, and let's just sharpen it up a little bit. Is this blending the patch tool on its own, or is extra setting? It's on its own. So when you're in the patch tool, there are two settings at the very top. There's normal, which does the blending, and then there's content aware, which is more precise. It's almost like a clone stamp. So I use them both. It just depends on the circumstance of what I'm trying to do. In the case of blending stuff in, I use normal. In the case of I need to fix something, I need it to look exact, then I'll use content aware. Okay, so here's our before. Again, nothing wrong with it, but here's our after. Just look, again, if you were trying to sell this photo on stock, which one would people prefer? The cleaner one or the one that's got stuff all over it? So when you're thinking about your photos, even if your subject is fine, think about the surrounding areas. Think about like, is it adding anything to the story? Like, for example, that little thing I took off up here, that's probably there on purpose. It probably maybe waters or probably it's something mechanical that works there. But does it need to be there in your photo? And if the answer is no, then why is it there? And so just think about things that don't need to be there. They don't add anything to the photo. They're candidates to be removed. All right, next up, old photos like this one. So this was clearly an old photo, not shot on digital. There's issues down here, just part of the photo fading away. And then there's just, there's all kinds of distractions in this photo as well. So first and foremost, one of the distractions is whatever this is. Looks like a window. Yeah, it looks like a window blind or window shade, and then this white line at the very top. They're not helping your photo. They're not adding anything to your photo. So at this point, why keep it? So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and go into my develop module, go into my crop tool. And since this is an old photo, I might want to crop it into a print size if it's not already one. So let's say I want to crop this to a 5:7. I can set the aspect ratio to whatever I want, 5:7, 8:10, whatever you were going to print this out as. And then you can crop from there. So you pick the one that you want. So in this case, I might pull it in a little. Since you're losing all that stuff at the bottom anyway, it's not really helping you. And I would go, unless you're going to restore it, I'll go from there. Now, the subject on a lot of the photos I received is right in the center of the photo, and typically we don't do that. But I don't have a lot of choice in this photo because either I'm going to keep the distraction to make the composition better, or I'm going to lose the distraction and maybe I could fill that back in from a compositional standpoint in Photoshop. All right, well, here we go. So I might start there and say, okay, now we got rid of a lot of the distraction, but there's still like these, I don't know, light leaks or whatever these things are across the photo. I'm not sure what they are, but they're distracting. So let's, before we even go into Photoshop, let's go ahead and take a look at our auto tone, see what that does. Auto tone helped a little bit. Auto tone usually does. And the color of the photo is good, but could it be better? So I might take the white balance eyedropper and just hover around the photo as I can see my preview in the upper left corner. And I'm not really, like over here, it's not going to really make a better difference. Over here would probably be about the same if I click. Actually, I don't like it. It's a little duller. So the temperature of this old photo is about where it's going to be. And let's go ahead and bump. Oh, no, I don't even like the shadows bumped up in this case because it's just the contrast is off. All right, so again, old photo. Not a lot I can do in that respect, so let's go ahead and fix the things I can fix. Let's head over to Photoshop, edit a copy. Tanya says those white lights look like reflections. They could be, but they're definitely distractions, whatever they are. So in an old photo like this, again, it's more about cleaning stuff up from the film days, which I'm assuming that's where this came from. So for example, I could go in and I could say, let's remove a lot of these little things that are distractions around the photo. And now I'm using my spot healing brush. Spot healing brush is great for things like this because it's a brush. You can paint it and remove scratches and remove things that are dots or dust quickly and easily in a photo like this. With and by the way, having dust on your own monitor doesn't really help you. So clean your monitor before you do a retouch. Okay, so I got rid of a lot of the obvious ones. Yeah, you spend 5 minutes retouching something that's not in the photo, but it's on your screen, so it doesn't go away. Okay, anyway, let's go to our patch tool. This is what I was talking about earlier. Your patch is either on normal or content aware. I'm on normal, and I'm going to go ahead and take this one. And I might take it piece by piece because she has a sleeve. So I might take just the top piece first and then take the bottom piece because there's a line on that sleeve I don't want to lose. All right, there we go. Just take those reflections out. Same thing here. There are parts of the photo I don't want to lose, so I don't want to accidentally patch them out. And then this piece. Now, the thing I love about the patch tool is because you get a preview as you're using it. So you get a chance to see before you let go what it's going to do or what it will try to do. So in this case, I'm going to just pull it up. And if I'm off, I can see the line is going to be off on the door or whatever that is she's standing next to. So I just want to just keep the door aligned. And this little bleeding, this little blurriness, by the way, that's often caused by normal because normal is trying to blend in. So let me undo that. And let's do content aware instead. And let's pull it up and let go. Oh, I let go in the wrong spot. Undo. There we go. And that blending kind of went away a little, but I still was off. Let's go ahead and do it again. All right, better. Now let me zoom in and kind of repair this. All right, so let's go in. This time I want to use normal. And let's just go ahead and get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. And now this part where I screwed it up, it should look like the rest of this line. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab it and just kind of blend it in. Now the line's not perfectly lining up, so I might do it in pieces like that. And same thing here, where I kind of, that reflection was still there. And that's a necklace. All right, cool. All right, zoom out. Okay, you have some reflections here on the door. Same thing, you might want to patch those out. You have that line in the door you want to maintain. Alrighty. Now if I zoom in, I might want to go in and just see what filter. Let's go to sharpen. Let's use smart sharpen. Now again, there's not a lot of data in this photo to work with again because of resolution, but I'm just going to leave it on Smart Sharpen on my defaults and click OK. Subtle difference. Now, now that I've kind of fixed a lot of removed a lot of the things that were distracting me, one thing's still there, and it was part of the photo, but it's this little knob or whatever this is sticking out from the door. I don't know what that is, but not adding anything to the photo. So let's get rid of it. Down here, you've got some distortion or something going on. So again, not adding anything to the photo. Let's just go ahead and remove it. And whatever this is, not adding anything to the photo. Let's just go ahead and blend it in or patch it out. So now the viewer's eye is going to concentrate more on your subject as opposed to your the door and the wall and the reflections and the light beams and all the things that are going across the photo. Okay, let's. Wow, patching makes so much more sense to me now. Good. I'm glad you like that, Cal. And again, what we used to use a lot before patching was the clone stamp. Clone stamp's a lot of work when patch just does it so much easier. All right, the reason I keep hesitating on this photo is just it's still like the contrast in this photo is still bugging me. So let's head back. Let's go back to Lightroom and let's just play with tone curve. All right, tone curve, you've got some presets. So you have medium, you have strong, and you have linear. And strong is just making the things that are dark, darker, and the things that are light, lighter. So it might be a little too much. Actually, I kind of like it. So just my taste for this photo, I kind of like the things that don't matter to be darker and to bring more attention to the subject. So for an old photo, that's where I would go with that one. All right, so we did a couple portraits already. And by the way, here's our before and after. So let's go to our before. Look at all the stuff you see now compared to what you don't see anymore. So again, it may not be so much about retouching your subject as it is just removing all the stuff that distracts away from your subject. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Next up, we did portraits a few times already, so let's go to something a little different. Have some wildlife shots that are pretty cool. Have some horse shots that are cool. The one thing, and there was actually a couple. So let's go to this one. Now, I'm assuming, because I don't know, but I'm assuming this person photographed this bird in mid-flight from like their yard or their window, because I can see the fence, I can see all the things that would be in someone's yard. When you're photographing, now, so this is one of those minor photograph critiques. When you're photographing and you can choose where you're going to aim the camera. So you have a horse running by, you have a car driving by, you have a dog running by, you have a bird flying by. Whatever it is that's moving, you want to give it as much room on the side of the frame that it's headed into. So for example, notice that the bird is over here on the right. And you got all this room over here on the left from the path that it took, I assume either took off from here or was already just flying across. And you got very little room left over on this side in the direction where it's headed. So from a compositional standpoint, you're not giving your subject room to run or fly or drive or whatever. So just from a photography standpoint, I would have turned the camera, if I could, caught it in time. I would have turned the camera more to the right so that the frame is on the other side of the bird flying out of it. Right now, or flying into it. Right now, it looks like your bird's about to fly out of your frame. So, and let's say you just didn't catch it in time. Maybe it was a spur of the moment and you caught what you caught. So in that case, we start asking ourselves, is any of this stuff behind the bird relevant? And if it's not, then why do we keep it? That's what you start thinking about from a composite. You can recompose your photo, depending on the photo, inside Lightroom or Photoshop. And also, since I assume this is your subject, look at how small it is compared to everything else in the photo. So everything else is like, oh, what's this? Is that a tree? Is that a plant? Oh, that's a nice tree over there. Oh, that's a nice fence. Like you're giving people too many more things to look at when really the star of the show is this beautiful bird you caught in mid-flight. So let's fix that. Let's go into the crop tool, and we can either crop with the same aspect ratio or not. So I can lock the crop down, and I can go and do something like this. And that gives you your stronger photo just by recomposing it. Now you're giving people something to look at. You're saying, oh my God, look, I can see the eyes now. I can see the bird. I don't have to squint to see what the star of the photo is. It's this beautiful bird in mid-flight flying towards whatever that is, but probably flying past it. And now you've just by that simple trick of cropping, you're giving the viewer a better shot at looking at the subject. And you could crop it even more. You can go tighter. But now, because of that, we can see all these little spots, I don't know, on your lens, on the glass, or whatever you're shooting this through. We can see that. So in that case, so if I were going to do this in Lightroom, which I could get away with in Lightroom, I have a spot removal tool or a healing brush, depending on what you're calling it these days. But I can, let's reduce the size of the brush. And I can just click. So I can click, get rid of that spot, get rid of that spot, get rid of that spot. And that's exactly where the spot removal tool originated from. That's what it was for, was getting rid of stuff like this, whether it was sensor dust, spots on your lens, or whatever it was that was distracting in the photos. And this also doing it non-destructively. I did not have to go to Photoshop to edit this photo at all. I can do it all right here. Okay. Now, now that we've done those things, we recomposed the shot a little bit better. We've got the distracting dust spots out of the photo. We would go in then and again run our auto. And I like what auto did, but I would go ahead and probably again because I like to bump up the shadows a little bit. I might even add a little dehaze to this photo. Just a slight amount of dehaze. Vibrance already looks pretty good. Saturation's -2. I'm going to set it back to 0. And the bird looks pretty straight on, like I'm looking from here to here. What's throwing me off is the fence is a little crooked, but that's okay because what we should be looking at is the bird. Okay. And again, we probably just add a little bit more sharpening to this, just to make it nice and tack sharp. And you might also go in, since this is not a person, you might go in and just add some texture to it. Yeah, look at the way it's bringing that out. So this is no texture. Here we'll zoom in a little bit more. This is no texture, and this is adding texture. Look at that. Look at the difference that's making. So just adding that little bit of texture to the photo to bring out the details here. Now, while we're at it, keep in mind you also have an adjustment brush. So you might grab your adjustment brush and you might set the preset to exposure. And it's just going to make it slightly more exposed. So you might start brushing. That's too much, but you might start brushing on the areas that you want to see. And then you can always turn down the exposure for that one spot. So that's way crazy overexposed, or just bring it down to taste. Just adding like a little spotlight right there, a little bit of sunshine right in your bird's face. All right, oops, I'm clicking the wrong tool there. Let's go back. All right, let's get out of the adjustment brush and let's go back out. I might even crop it down some more now that I've seen the bird up close. So let's go back to our crop and let's crop it down a little bit more. All right, there we go. So again, just keep it in mind. And here we'll make a virtual copy. So I made a virtual copy. My virtual copy's there. Okay, so, and here's my original. Let's go back to the original and let's go back into develop module and let's reset it. So that's where we were. That's where we were. where it just looks like, oh, a bird got in the way of you taking a picture of trees. I'm joking. But that's what, that's, again, if this is your subject, let's make it the subject. That's where we were to this is where we are now. And again, you've got a great shot in that shot. Let's go ahead and just bring it out. All right, next up. Same thing here with the horses, like again, centering in the frame. You're not giving the person, the horse, enough room to run. So I would probably move this over a little bit or crop it a little bit, but you're only going to have so much. So I would probably say in this case, it's more about if you were to shoot this again, I would have the tail all the way over on the left side. And so that you got plenty of room to run in your frame. Now, good shot, action shot. You captured it. You froze the action in motion. There's not a lot of blur. Great things other than that slight bit of composition. What's distracting me in this photo, for those who haven't guessed, is that white pole. That white pole just looks like, is this an arcade ride? Like, is it tied to the pole? Like the pole's just serving no purpose other than just being in the way. So in this case, I would probably, again, too much work to try and get rid of that inside of Lightroom. So let's do our Lightroom things while we're here. Oh, sorry, let's go to develop. Do our Lightroom things while we're here. Auto, and maybe bump up the exposure just a little bit more, right about there. I'd crop it, but let's come back and do that later. Let's go ahead and, how can I make a better quality? How can you make a better quality of an image? In what way? Quality from a what perspective? So give me a little bit more on that question. All right, so let's edit this. Now, because this person sent me a raw file, I'm not going to get that question of do I want to make a copy, because the raw file is already your copy. So it's going to bring over a copy into Photoshop, and then when you save it back, it'll put it right next to the raw file. So I did not get that question. All right, so here's what's going on here. This thing just, it's driving me nuts. So it's got to go. And again, it was there. It's supposed to be there. It serves a purpose, I'm sure, but it does not help your photo. So let's start patching that out of there. All right. Now, because I'm getting real close to the animal, and it would blur it if I don't use content aware. So that's a case where I use content aware to take care of that. And then I come up here. Now this is going to be a little trickier because you've got all these poles over here too. So you might want to do this in pieces. Might want to just make that selection first and just take care of that and get that one done. And then you got this one. Now it's a whole lot less distracting even if we had to leave this, but we're not going to leave it if we don't have to. I'm going to take that piece, and I need to be able to see what I'm doing. All right, good, good, good. And then this last piece. And just finding a spot to pick from. So I'd probably come all the way over here and just get a clean spot to put that. Okay, so now we have a pole that's gone. Just that easily. Look at how much better that is without having that pole sticking up behind your horse. And now our attention is 100% focused on the action. So that's where it really makes, maybe this is a competition and a pole is like a solemn pole. Yeah, could be, but it wasn't helping the photo. And if you need to document facts, then yeah, keep the pole in. But if this is a photo you'd sell or put on your wall, no one wants to see that pole. I don't care if it was part of the competition or not. I don't care. Maybe the horse had to run around it, and sure enough, the pole needed to be there. But does it look better without the pole? I'm going to go with yes. So again, I remember in the beginning I said take these with a grain of salt. You think the pole needs to stay there? By all means, keep the pole. All right, so let's save it. Close it. Let's go back to our to Lightroom. There it is. So there it is right next to the original. So again, here's our original. Oh, wait, one more thing. I would crop this just a bit. And in this case, yeah, I'd probably go ahead and lock the aspect ratio. And I'd probably come down to something like that. There we go. Because again, we're showing a lot of background when really we want to concentrate on the subject. So just watch what a photographer used to tell me all the time, watch your headroom, because I was always photographing people with this much space above their heads. So just watch your headroom. All right, so again, let's look at our before and after. There's our before. Again, great action photo. The pole's there for a reason, obviously. But to me, that's the better photo, in my opinion. You go with what you want to go with. All right. Let's keep going. This is another example of just nature in action. So you have a couple of bees here, just bees or hornets or whatever these are, look like hornets, hanging out together. But watch this. When I zoom in, that's the cool part of the photo. When you're out here, it just looks like two bugs that are on something, like they're on a table or something. Like you're losing the fact of what you photographed. So again, this is another composition technique. So we're going to go to crop, and we're going to just crop into this. And I might even go a little more. Maybe this. And that's what this rule of thirds is for. These intersections is where you want to put the subject. So I'm just going to move it down and go something like that. It just helps you with your composition. So now you got a better photo. So in this case, now that I got the better photo, couple things. Number one, it looks like, and again, looking at the legs of this one, I'd probably say it's still slightly crooked. So I'd probably tilt it just a little bit to straighten it out. And there we go. And then you got these, whatever these are. I don't know what those are, but they're not helping the photo. So I'd probably take that one out. And just using a spot tool in Lightroom, take that one out and take that one out. There we go. And now I'm seeing these, and now I'm seeing that, and now I'm seeing this, and now I'm seeing that. And just clean it up. You got a good photo, good macro photo there. Clean it up. There you go. And to be honest with you, here's what I do. I'd have that one, and then I'd make a virtual copy of it, like that. And a virtual copy, I'd probably even go in tighter. Because you got some good macro photography there. Why not really show it off and really show the details? Because where you were zoomed out, it's like, are the bees there on purpose? Or are they an accident? Now you know they're on purpose, or hornets. Now you know they're there on purpose, and this is the action you took. And again, nothing wrong with the subject, but let's really show it off. I love the way the wings are blurred. Looks like they were in action, the way you froze them there. And just, I don't like hornets, but you got a good shot. So let's do a little auto on that. Let's really bring up the vibrance there. Let's maybe bring up the exposure a little bit more. And there you go. Just, again, a very cool nature shot. So I zoomed in a little bit more. Here's the minimum amount of zoom I would do. And then, and again, I forgot to do my, let's make another virtual copy. There we go. So those are my two edits, and here's yours. And let's go ahead and go back to develop and reset it. So this is where we were. That's where we were. And this is where we could be. So you have a better photo inside your photo. So that's what we like to tell people when they're zoomed out too far, they're showing too many things that don't matter, you're showing too much background area that doesn't matter. It's just, you got a good photo, so let's really concentrate on what the subject is. And I am out of time just that easily. So I hope that you are enjoying these, how I would edit your photo. There's some photos left over here that I would love to get to. In this case, like in this one's real quick, this is more of a white balance issue. Oh, you know what? Instead of using the eyedropper, I'm just going to set the white balance to, oh, not profile. Let's set the white balance to daylight. See, it's just your color is off. That's all. It's a raw file, and you were just on the wrong white balance for this shot. Now, there's more things I would do there, but just to show you quickly and easily how things can get so much better than where you were. All right, I will continue to do these subjects where I'm asking for your submissions and edit your photos, and we'll have more fun doing these kinds of things. So we'll probably do this like, once a month, once every 5 or 6 weeks. And then we'll continue on next week with more photography, masterclass, more editing, more shooting, more kinds of things like that. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. Bye, everybody.